From the University of North Dakota in Grand Forks, this is Studio One.
Hi everyone and welcome to Studio One. I'm Averi Haugesag.
And I'm Biernat.
Today on the show, what people think of as an unmanned aircraft system may depend on two things: who it's focused on and who is in control. We'll talk to an expert about UAS regulations.
Also, across the upper Midwest, construction is in full swing. One university is making some serious renovations to a campus that is more than a century old. But first, 2 New York City window washers were left stranded 68 stories above the ground. A cable snapped and left their scaffolding dangling in the wind. The men were working on the New World Trade Center just 2 weeks after opening. They were saved by a rope that connected them to the top of the building. Firefighters had to cut through the glass on the 68th floor to rescue them. Both men were found to have mild hypothermia, but they will be okay. The European Space Agency successfully landed a spacecraft on a comet for the first time in history. The probe launched 10 years ago, and with help of gravity assist, it traveled 6.5 billion miles before reaching its destination. However, there was a failure with the tethering system, so the craft is not fully secured to the comet. After bouncing around during the landing, it finally came to a rest. Scientists don't see any more problems occurring. The problem has already sent back valuable images from the comet, with many more to come. Prescription drugs are relieving measures that we can find in almost any home in the United States, but a new study shows these common medications are leading to more hospital visits than illegal drugs. Stanford University researchers found more than 2/3 of emergency room overdose visits were related to prescription drugs. Over half of these needed further treatment at a hospital. Familiar drugs like Oxycontin or Vicodin are some of the drugs leading to overdoses, even more so than illegal substances such as heroin or marijuana.
When kept in your home and taken as prescribed, medications can help make you feel better or cure an illness or that kind of thing, but they can also be a poisoning agent.
The U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention describes prescription drug misuse as a public health epidemic, costing the national healthcare system nearly $2.3 billion in 2010.
Bikers beware. New information from a traffic safety group shows cycling deaths are on the rise. The Governor's Highway Safety Association reported a 16% increase in bicycle deaths since 2010. The majority of these incidents happen in urban areas where bikes and cars are more likely to interact. While data is limited, one possible reason for the upturn is the growing number of cyclists overall. The GHSA report also shows 65% of cyclists killed were not wearing a helmet. It argues that a universal helmet law could help reduce deaths and injuries.
Homeowners are always looking for ways to renovate their living space. The drive to update is no different for universities. A college campus's history is often told by its buildings. The University of North Dakota Head of Facilities Management Larry Zitzow is happy with his campus's current setup.
We're very fortunate that we've been able to keep that appearance and keep that Gothic architecture in place.
UND is one of many universities that is going through a lot of change.
Some of the projects we got a lot of construction this year. We got a boom year of construction.
Several projects have begun on campus. North Dakota-based JLG Architects heads most of UND's work.
JLG started 25 years ago, and so we're on our 25th anniversary. And we started with the project at UND at the medical school, and so we've actually been working on the campus ever since then. There's always been some project.
Some of UND's buildings are almost a century old. With long, cold winters and humid summers, some buildings undergo a lot of stress. As a result, it's been tough to pinpoint where to begin new construction.
The strategy has generally been across the state, if you can salvage and keep that older facility and repurpose it, that's what we'd like to do.
By creating new buildings, some universities seek a more modern look, while others try and maintain tradition.
So we're trying to keep that buildings look like they're from the same parents, so that they look and feel like the same architecture.
Construction is underway on 3 major projects, with many more planned in the near future. But through it all, the campus history remains, and home will still feel like home. UND's medical school, which is the biggest project the school has seen in decades, boasts a budget of $124 million. Classes are expected to be held in the new building in the summer of 2016. And that's the news for now.
All right, thanks, Will. Let's go on over to Scott Wolff now for the weather news. Scott?
Thanks, Avery. We're looking at the first major snowstorm of the season. In Rhinelander, Wisconsin, over the past couple days, they had 13 inches of snow. That's 13 inches over 2 days. So this snow is falling on warm roads. These roads iced up, so you had some really dangerous conditions driving on these icy roads. School was canceled in many schools in the area, but there was one school that did still have class, and so there was a school bus that went off the road and was overturned in the ditch. All the students on board the bus are okay. They've been evaluated, they're okay. Down in Texas, they have something other than snow falling out of the sky. A large meteor was 5 times as bright as the full moon. NASA is analyzing the footage to determine what exactly it was, but it was generally thought to be a meteor about 4 feet wide. Now I was talking about the snowstorm. That's due in part to the polar vortex. I'm sure you heard about this last year. So the polar vortex is a high altitude, low pressure system that forms over the pole, and the air circulates around it. You have bumps in the circulation known as ridges and troughs. One trough pushed all the way down to the Hudson Bay, and that's sitting over it right now. So you're going to be seeing that for most of November. That's bringing really cold temperatures with it, wind directly out of the north, bringing temperatures as far south as Texas that are below freezing. So that's some really cold temperatures there. We talked to one person who knows quite a bit about working out in the cold.
Cold weather can often be seen as a reason to head indoors for activities. Some athletes look at this weather the same way they look at warm weather when exercising.
And it takes a little bit of training to develop the ability to breathe in the cold. Not that you cannot do it, it's just a lot easier if you've sort of gone through the fall and then you get to the winter and you don't even notice it.
Carr studies the effects of exercising in the cold weather. He says that while cold weather does not have any direct effect on a person's joints or muscles, they can still be vulnerable.
The biggest threats when you're exercising out in the bitter cold are going to be your hands and your feet and your face.
Because so much heat can be lost in these areas, he recommends wearing extra clothing for warmth. Provided proper clothing, Carr is a strong proponent of working out in the brisk, cold weather.
Anything that that you can do indoors, you can do outdoors in the winter. There are some people that have some respiratory disorders. Asthma is frequently mentioned, that are sensitive to the cold.
Winter is inevitable, but just because the temperature is a little colder outside doesn't mean we have to head inside to exercise. Reporting for Studio One, I'm Morgan Murphy.
Carr says that it is safe to work outside as long as you have proper clothing, even down to temperatures like -30 degrees Fahrenheit. That brings us around to the weather question of the week. Which city just set a new temperature record for coldest temperature in November? We have cities in Wisconsin, Michigan, Kansas, and Wyoming. Now, Avery, all of those had some cold temperatures over the past week, so it could be any of them.
All right, thanks, Scott. Now we're going to head on over to Will Biernat for a different kind of sports story today. Will?
All right, thanks, Avery. Sports are everywhere. Some people play them in school, others watch them on TV. We met a group of guys that might change some stereotypes.
Good heel, good heel. Oh, beautiful!
With some intensity and concentration, one team succeeds beating the other without even being in the same room. Video games have evolved from machines connected to a television to a worldwide network, and is becoming something similar to what you might see on TV.
I mean, it's a sport now.
Yes, you heard right, a sport. Sitting in front of the computer playing video games is not what it used to be back in the early 90s, because now the games can gather thousands of spectators.
This past season 4, they sold out an entire soccer stadium.
The League of Legends tournament recently took place at the University of North Dakota. 8 teams battled for the chance to represent UND as their official esports team. Matthew is the organizer for this tournament. He believes that it's time to let some stereotypes go.
If people see the video games as a detriment because people are in front of a computer instead of meeting with people.
As the captain of this team, Tyler calls the shots.
I'm gonna push mid. You guys try and defend that if you can.
But to him, it's not just a sport.
I mean, it's something I do mostly, like, just as recreation, but I mean, it's something that you can meet new people all the time. I mean, I've got people that I play with that don't live anywhere near me.
While the guys are gathering for fun, they're also playing a role in changing the way we define sports. I'm Eric Nilsson Brotley, reporting for Studio One.
Robert Morris College is now the first university to recognize video games as a varsity sport. The school offers scholarships of up to $15,000 for gamers. And that's the sports story for today's show. Avery?
That's a really interesting new trend.
$15,000 scholarships too, that's a lot of money.
Wow, thanks, Will. An article by the New York Times states that in the United States, privacy fears grow as cities increase surveillance. We'll talk with a man who knows about UAS regulations in public safety.
Closed captioning for Studio One is underwritten in part by NDAD, helping others to help themselves.
To have the future you want and a career you'll be proud of, you'll need a great education. The University of North Dakota can get you there with more than 225 degree programs, preparing you for today's fastest growing, high-demand careers, like medicine and health professions, aerospace, business, engineering, and energy. Schedule your campus visit today at und.edu/go, because to succeed, you need to be exceptional.
At the University of North Dakota College of Engineering and Mines, classes have real-life application. Mentors guide students. Our work improves quality of life by answering tough questions with creativity and innovation. The University of North Dakota College of Engineering and Mines, training tomorrow's engineering and geology experts today. At the University of North Dakota College of Engineering and Mines, classes have real-life application. Mentors guide students. Our work improves quality of life by answering tough questions with creativity and innovation. The University of North Dakota College of Engineering and Mines, training tomorrow's engineering and geology experts today.
Closed captioning for Studio One is supported in part by the Listen Center, enriching the lives of people who have intellectual disabilities with choices in community recreation.
The Grand Forks Police Department and other public safety agencies have recently started using unmanned aerial vehicles to assist in putting an end to crime. In Grand Forks alone, the technology has been used in 13 different cases. As the technology becomes increasingly popular, the FAA is setting regulations for these agencies and individuals using the devices commercially. UND Professor Alan Frazier is here to discuss UAS regulations for public safety agencies and hobbyists. Thanks for being on the show with us today, Alan.
You're very welcome, Avery. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. So to start off, how did you get involved with UAS? I mean, what was kind of your background before you came here to North Dakota?
Well, I was a police officer before I came here. I retired in 2010 from a large law enforcement agency in Southern California, and wasn't ready to give up on working, and was lucky enough to get a position here as a professor at the University of North Dakota.
That's great. Then how did you get kind of involved with UAS if you were coming here to teach?
Well, there's a research expectation for professors here at the University of North Dakota, and actually a couple of office mates that were near my office were involved in UAS, and I was looking for a topic to research, and we just started chatting about it, and they mentioned that they thought there were lots of opportunities for the use of small unmanned aircraft in law enforcement, and thought that it might be a good fit for me. So that was the impetus of the research.
So do you just kind of, do you specifically work with the public safety or law enforcement, or what do you work with?
My specific piece of the pie, if you will, is the law enforcement aspect of it. I mean, we have quite a bit of UAS research going on here at the University of North Dakota. My portion, though, is in public safety.
Okay. So what exactly do they use these technologies for here in public safety?
Well, we have a collaboration. It's actually a three-way collaboration between the University of North Dakota, 2 UAS manufacturers. It happens to be a Canadian company, Dragonfly Innovations, and an American company, Aero Environment, out of California. And then the third partner is the Grand Forks County Sheriff's Department. And the three of us worked together to complete the research, but primarily we started off identifying some partners, and then we selected pilots and sensor system operators and did quite a bit of training, did all of the paperwork that we needed to do with the FAA and get permission to fly. And now we're actually in the third phase of the research, which is the actual deployment of the aircraft over actual law enforcement incidents.
Wow, and you guys have used them 13 times, is that correct?
We have, yes.
Can you give me an example of an instance maybe that these would be used?
Absolutely. One that we used it on, maybe about 6 months ago, was a fatal traffic accident that was on Columbia in front of Altru Hospital. And we were called there by Grand Forks Police traffic accident investigators who wanted to get an aerial perspective of the traffic accident, which would help them recreate and determine what the cause of the accident was.
That's a useful tool then, I suppose.
Very useful, yeah. In fact, when we got there, the fire department had responded and they were setting up a snorkel truck, a large ladder, to try to take similar photos, but it's much easier for us to utilize a small unmanned aircraft. We could get a variety of different angles and altitudes to take still and video of it for the investigation. So very, very effective, and we did it in about 15 minutes, so it doesn't take much time at all to gather that.
Oh, that's fast. So what, I mean, I know that law enforcement here uses it, but does Border Patrol use these devices then too?
The Border Patrol does, yes, in 4 different locations here in the United States. One of them happens to be Grand Forks. They have some aircraft that are Reapers, MQ-9s, that are based at Grand Forks Air Force Base, and they patrol the northern border with those aircraft to try to detect smugglers essentially coming across the border, and then send ground units to interdict those smugglers.
And they use them down south as well?
They do, yes. They have some based in Cape Canaveral and some based in the southwest of the United States as well.
Okay. So what is being done to regulate these devices here in North Dakota, or locally, I suppose, even at the University of North Dakota?
Sure. Well, I don't know that I would really call it regulation, but it is a level of control and oversight, if you will, and it's a healthy level of oversight. Here at the University of North Dakota, there is a committee. It's kind of a long name. It's the Unmanned Aircraft Systems Research Compliance Committee, and that's 15 members strong, and those 15 members represent a variety of different backgrounds. So there's faculty members, there are staff, there are public safety members from the Sheriff's Department, the Grand Forks Fire Department, and the Grand Forks Police Department, and there are citizens at large on that committee as well. And so any type of flight UAS activity that is flown in conjunction with the University of North Dakota must be vetted and approved by that committee. So my particular research project was vetted by that committee, and they ended up approving 5 different mission sets that we were able to go out and fly.
Whoa. So what do they do in the United States then as a whole? Are there any kind of regulations set by the FAA?
There are, yes. The FAA maintains that even though these are small aircraft, I mean, we're talking about aircraft with 36-inch wingspans. To the casual observer, they would appear to be remote-controlled model aircraft. The FAA maintains that those are aircraft that are subject to their regulation. And the way that they are now regulating them is through a process called a certificate of authorization. And that is an online application process in which a public agency, a governmental agency, would provide quite a bit of information to the FAA about the type of aircraft, the mission, the qualifications of the crew, the geographic area that the aircraft was going to be flown, and then the FAA reviews that. It goes out to air traffic control facilities and safety people in the FAA, and then if they feel that the operation could be conducted safely, they give us approval to do that.
All right, great. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Coming up, we may not all live in a yellow submarine, but we do live in a generation where many people are still familiar with the Beatles. Though the band is no longer together, their music lives on through other musicians. That's next.
Studio One closed captioning is underwritten in part by Options, your disability information source.
It's not the size of the woman in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the woman.
To have the future you want and a career you'll be proud of, you'll need a great education. The University of North Dakota can get you there with more than 225 degree programs, preparing you for today's fastest growing, high-demand careers, like medicine and health professions, aerospace, business, engineering, and energy. Schedule your campus visit today at und.edu/go, because to succeed, you need to be exceptional.
North Dakota is facing challenges in healthcare delivery. The University of North Dakota School of Medicine and Health Sciences is building a place to help meet the state's healthcare needs. In addition to a new structure, we're also building interaction between healthcare professionals while building a workforce through expanding class sizes. We're inspiring our youth to engage in healthcare careers and exploring ways to reduce disease. It starts here and ends here, building a better future for North Dakota.
Others live to their full potential, improve clients' mental and physical well-being, excel in one of the top healthcare careers of the future. Occupational therapy students at the University of North Dakota experience high-quality education in small classes.
You have to come to 45 degrees, even in a normal motion pattern.
Your healthcare career begins at the University of North Dakota.
If you would like to attend a live show, go to our website at studio1.und.edu.
In the year 1994, the Fairley brothers introduced the world to two lovable airheads. 20 years later, Harry and Lloyd are back for the sequel, Dumb and Dumber 2. Jeff Daniels and Jim Carrey will play again the two men over again. However, the story is a little different. This time, Harry finds out he is in need of a new kidney, so he and Lloyd hit the road searching for his organ donor. The film takes you along their interesting journey to find Harry's long-lost daughter.
We're middle-aged and still that stupid. We've changed physically, but mentally we have not gained a day.
Though there were stunt doubles involved, much of the shenanigans were done by real actors. Carrey even had his fake tooth removed once again just for his role. Watch Harry and Lloyd's journey when it appears in theaters November 14th with a PG-13 rating. Technology today is often viewed as a distraction from day-to-day life, but many are using it to get fit. A recent Gallup poll found 34% of adult iPhone users have downloaded at least one app meant to support healthy living. We wanted your thoughts on what technology you have used to stay healthy and how it has helped.
There's a lot of apps you can get. Like, I know Nike, like, they have apps that you can use, like, track your stuff. Like, they have bands and stuff.
A Fitbit, so I've used that just to keep track of how many steps I've taken in a day.
I use my iPod to listen to music and stuff, and I also have my timer on there. I time my runs.
Oh, I use the Weight Watchers app on my phone. Yeah, that's really helped.
iPhone, that's for one thing, tracking my run. See how I improve my run time, like how far and what pace.
I use the Wii. It's a great way to get fit.
I like to use the computer to get nutritional facts.
I use a treadmill.
Technology I use to stay fit and healthy is called a stability ball.
A comment from our Facebook page from Lynn in Cypress, Texas said, I'm currently using a low-carb website to track carbs and then FitnessPal to also track water, exercise, and carbs. The low-carb website gives me ideas on what to make for meals. Michelle from St. Paul, Minnesota said Fitbit makes me more cognizant of my steps and therefore tracks my exercise on a daily basis. It also tracks my sleep, which indicates how little sleep I get.
Music can be used as a tool to bridge generational gaps. One tribute band is proving that true while keeping alive some of the best music of decades past.
Beatlemania swept the globe in the 1960s. People were enamored with the Beatles and their music. That mania would affect all who heard the music for years to come.
The story goes by my mom and dad is that they would play music they play the Beatles music while I laid in the crib, and out of all the music that would play, I always moved my stomach to the beat of the Beatle music.
Biernat is part of Britain's Finest, a Beatles tribute band that is gaining popularity in the United States. Although they are now playing theaters across the country, the band had humble beginnings.
It started out with us playing in little tiny places, even places that weren't meant to be played in. You'd go and see us playing in a little steakhouse or something in a corner, just crammed in the corner.
The years of playing in small restaurants are gone now, and the band is making appearances internationally. As for their future plans, they say that tomorrow never knows.
I'm hoping to be the best Beatle tribute band in the market. I mean, that's the goal, and every Beatle tribute band has that problem. But the thing that we have that other Beatle tribute bands don't have is that we still have youth on our side.
Wherever the future takes them, they will continue to work towards their dream 8 days a week. With photographer Will Biernat, I'm Megan Hoffman reporting for Studio One.
Britain's Finest channels different eras of the Beatles' storied history, with changing costumes and set lists to feed each show they perform.
All right, thanks, Will. And now Scott is going to join us in our studio with the final look at the weather. Scott?
Thanks, Avery. Well, it looks like winter is coming early. Colder than average temperatures across most of the United States, particularly up in the Great Lakes region, all the way down to Texas and Louisiana, though. Warmer than average temperatures on the West Coast, mostly down Southern California out to Arizona. Looking at drier than average conditions in the Central Plains and out to the Northeast coast. And we're looking at wetter than average conditions on the West Coast, particularly in the Pacific Northwest and in the Southeast. Looking at maybe some lake effect snow up by the Great Lakes too. The weather question of the week, which city just set a new record for all-time low temperature in November? That is actually Casper, Wyoming. So Avery, they had negative 21 degrees Fahrenheit in Casper.
Wow, that is cold.
Yeah, that's pretty chilly for this time of year.
All right, thanks, Scott. And that's our show for today. As always, you can follow us through social media or get more information on our website. From all of us here at Studio One, have a great week.
See you next time.